Good evening. It is now 6:02 on April 28th. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Sandwich Board of Appeals. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's going all over the place.
Sorry.
The Board of Appeals is comprised of 5 regular members and 1 alternate member. The Board of Appeals can have up to 4 alternate members. Any decision of this board requires a 2/3 vote. 2/3 of 5 is 4. If only 4 members vote, the vote would have to be unanimous. If 5 members vote, 1 member could dissent. This meeting is live and streamed on Sandwich Community Television's website and on local channel 9. The meeting is being recorded and will be available on the SCTV website at www.sandwichtv.org tomorrow. The board asks that if anyone is recording this meeting, please notify me. Anyone recording? None seen. Okay. All right, we move on. First item on the agenda tonight is old business. 25-13 Country Club Road, appeal a decision of the building commissioner, Miller, and this is being continued from previously. Kevin and Brendan are recusing themselves. Public hearing remains open. And Leanne, can you have any update for us of any kind?
I do not,
Okay.
but I will just update you to let you know that the screen is having some technical difficulties, so we may have to do this via paper tonight.
Okay. Ian, do you have any further comment?
No further comment.
Okay. Mr. Corain, do you have any further comment or anything else to say in regard to this?
I'm just going to be brief on this particular petition. This one obviously deals with the appeal that was brought of building commissioner's decision that the setback, the building setback applied regarding 3710. Again, it's for the record, Attorney Christopher Corain for the applicant Philip Miller is with me tonight. You know, the board obviously knows what my position on this is. I think it's a building setback, it's a front yard setback. I don't know how else to say it. You know, I think really what I kind of want to point out tonight is I just find it a little bit curious that town council and everybody says, well, it's not a setback. Well, how do I correct it? I have to file for a variance for a setback. So it doesn't really make sense to me that you can't call it a setback for the appeal, but when I file for the variance, I need a relief from the setback. And so even if you look at the public hearing notice tonight for my variance, it says for a building setback. And if you look at the building commissioner's memo on my variance, it talks about the 59.4 feet from the road. So if the argument is it's an elevation, then why am I asking for a variance for 59.4 feet from the road? If I needed a variance because it's an elevation, I'd be asking for some sort of elevation variance, but that's not the case. So I really think there's this disconnect on it kind of being illogical that on the one hand, we're saying it's not a setback, and then my recourse is to file for a variance to get relief from a setback. So, you know, I'll just leave it at that. I think that, you know, I think it is a setback. I think it's grandfathered in that respect under your bylaw. So, you know, procedurally, if this board ultimately concludes that it is a setback and it is grandfathered, I don't need the variance. But if the board obviously decides that they don't think it's a setback and they think it's an elevation criteria or an elevation I don't know what they think, an elevation issue, then obviously I would, you know, I'm going to present the variance and the board would make a decision on the variance separately. But again, it just seems, there seems to be a little bit illogical that town council says it's an elevation issue, but my relief is distance from the road, which is a setback, so.
But isn't the elevation issue causing the setback issue?
The elevation issue is causing the setback issue, but ultimately it's still a setback issue. It's just affected by the elevation. So I'm not asking for, like, the way I look at it, the way I put it in my letter was, if it was an elevation issue, the building, you would say the building has to be sited at such and such an elevation. But that's not what it says. It says it has to be set back 15 feet for every 1 foot. So that's a distance. It's a distance from the road. So again, I can see that's affected by elevation between the road, but ultimately it is a distance between the road and where the house can be. And I think that's a setback. So,
Elevation is what's affecting the setback, as he's pointed out. And I'm just wondering, what other bylaw could be put into place which rendered a lot unbuildable, which would instantly lose its pre-existing non-conforming protection? Because that's what pre-existing non-conforming is, right? And if the lot could not be built upon because of a new bylaw, no matter how it affected it, I would think there would be pre-existing non-conforming. So I agree. I think that that's exactly what we're talking about. It's setback. It's not elevation. And I don't care what bylaw they came up with. If it affected the setback requirements in any way, no matter what it is, then it's, you can't say that it's not protected. If the bylaw was created after the lot was created.
which is the case here.
Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions from the board? All right,
Just one thing, I assume you could not find any case law relative to something similar to this?
No, I did look, and I put that in my letter when I got town council's initial response. I tried to find something that was similar to this type of building setback, but I mean, I couldn't find any case law. And even if you look at surrounding bylaws on the Cape, I don't think there's a bylaw like this on the Cape. I mean, I'm probably as familiar with Mashpee as anybody. There's no such bylaw in Mashpee. I don't know if Lee had ever had such a bylaw in down Cape where she was, born. This is really a bylaw that's unique to Sandwich, in my opinion.
Just one procedural, just to clarify, and if I missed it, please forgive me, but regardless of the distance and how it was measured, but did we actually get the certified plan?
It eventually kind of arrived, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
It's been stamped by a registered land surveyor.
okay. Regardless of what the dimension is, et cetera, but we did get the, okay.
Regards, Attorney Corain mentioned in my memo, the memo was for the variance that's coming up, and that was because I was only dealing with the variance, which was presented as a setback. They could have made the argument that it was the height variation. I would have commented on it then. It was a comment on their application, not on the bylaw.
Thanks.
okay. So I would assume I'll take a motion to close.
Any public comment?
Oh, excuse me, sorry. Any public comment? I always forget that. No comment from the public, okay.
All right, I move we'll close and take it under advisement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'm gonna move right into the variance. Okay. Sandwich Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on the application of Miller Investments 2 LLC, applicant and property owner, for a variance under sections 1321 and 3710 of the Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaw for property located at 110 Country Club Road, Sandwich, Mass. Assessors map number 14, parcel number 280, for the purposes of reducing the building siting setback requirement from the edge of the street pavement. Public hearing will be held on April 28th, 2026 at the Sand Hills School Community Center, 16 Dewey Ave, Sandwich, Mass. At 6 p.m. Public record information can be viewed at the Planning and Development Office.
Motion to open it?
Motion to open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So, first comment letter is from Ian Reed, Building Commissioner. On March 30th, 2026, an application was made for a variance under the Town of Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaw, Section 1321 and 3710, for the property located at 110 Country Club Road. The property is located within the R2 district. Section 3710 quotes, if a building is sited so that its principal floor elevation on the side nearest the street is below the street elevation, the building shall be at back from the edge of the street pavement a minimum of 15 feet for each 1 foot the principal floor elevation is below the street elevation. Street elevation shall be measured at the edge of the pavement directly in front of the center of the building. This requirement does not affect the setbacks mandated by Section 2600. As presented, the principal floor elevation on the side nearest the street is at 94.2 feet. The street elevation measured at the edge of pavement directly in front of the center of the building is 102 feet. That is a difference of 7.8 feet. 15 feet for each 1 foot the principal floor is below the street elevation calculates at a distance of 117 feet. The dwelling was constructed at a distance of 57.6 feet from the edge of the pavement. This structure is non-compliant with section 3710 and requires a variance of 59.4 feet. All right, and from Jenna Silver, Department of Natural Resources. The Conservation Commission has reviewed the request for special permit number 26-07, 110 County Country Club Road, Sandwich, Mass. The Commission reviewed the applicant's project and issued an order of conditions effective 7/27/2022, permit number SE 66-1944, in compliance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Sandwich Wetlands Bylaw. The order of conditions has since been closed out with a certificate of compliance on August 7th, 2025. A copy of the order is attached to this memo. The Commission does not have any comments regarding the special permit request, other than the applicant must comply with the order of conditions. Is that it? I don't think there's anything else. No, that's it. Okay. Leanne, any comments from you or an overview of this variance request?
Sure, so the applicant has applied for a variance, as reference for a front yard setback, 59.4-foot variance due to the building siding section. I would just also say that they could have applied for an elevation variance of 7.8 feet from that's the distance where the floor would have to be in order to meet that front yard setback that is then required. So similarly, they could be asking for a lesser variance if we went with an elevation measurement as opposed to the front yard setback measurement, which would give us a conformity.
How would we apply that? The height variance? We would give them a variance, because really the issue is the setback. So how would the height variance work?
What we could do is, and it was something that me and Ian had discussed, was due to the fact that for where the first floor is and then the elevation of the street is, you could ask for a variance as to that requirement then coming into play for having to site the building back every 15 feet for every 1 feet it's under.
So we would reduce that variance to what?
It would be a 7.8-foot variance because that's
Down to 0? What will we reduce it to?
down to
zero.
zero.
From
So that
15 to 7 point is what you're saying.
from the street elevation down to
The difference that would
Difference.
require to get them 7.8 feet. They're at the actual setback, and this is a setback not from the front yard setback, it's from the edge of pavement. So they've got a 57.6, or whatever the difference between that 7'8", they would have to apply that variance. I could calculate it out, but probably about 3 to 4 feet.
Okay.
So a variance from 15 feet per foot to 7 point.
Yeah, whatever they would get,
per foot.
whatever the height difference to raise that floor would get them the variance to meet that 57.6 feet, which they're actually at the corner of the building setback, from the edge of pavement setback.
Is, I think your question, right? Be the variance from the 15 to 1 to
Correct. In other words, where the
X to
first
1.
floor is now to where it should be is the difference.
All right, Ian, we were going to ask you for comment, but you have anything else, or is that good?
That's
Okay. Mr. Crane, any comments from you?
Sure, thank you again, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Christopher Crane for Miller Investments. Philip Miller is with me today. Again, I see this as a setback from the front, not an elevation. I never would have even thought to think of asking for an elevation variance, because that's really not how that bylaw provision reads. It reads as distance from the road and how far you have to be back from the road. So that's why I proceeded in the manner that I proceeded tonight with the variance from the front yard setback. So I think all the numbers that were read match up. I worked with Ian. I got an education on this bylaw more than I probably ever needed, but because it's confusing in this situation, I think more so because of the way the road curves, because you find your elevation from the center of the building to the front of the road, but the setback distance that we're calculating is from a different area. So we're not taking it from the same spot. So it really hurts my client a lot, because if you were to take it from the center where we take the elevation, he's set back 119 feet. So if the road was straight, I don't know that we'd be in this situation. But because the road's curved, we're in this situation because you're taking the measurements from two different places, which, seems a little bit illogical that you have to get your elevation from the front of the building to the center, but you're taking your distance from the side of the building that's closest to the road. So I think that goes to one issue about the lot shape. I think if anybody's been to the lot, they can certainly tell that there's an elevation slope from the front to the back, and there's certainly an elevation change from where the back of the house is to Hog Pond, which I think certainly falls under the category of a topographical hardship. Because you'd have to push the house further back, you probably have to build higher foundations, or bring in more grade. You'd be bringing it closer to the pond, which I don't think is ideal. So I really do think that there is a topographical hardship. The hardship obviously is if the board went to the variance and denied the variance, it's likely that we'd have to tear down the house. I mean, that'd be the next logical step, is a tear down order, which is a significant hardship to my client, obviously, because he's built the house and always looking for a certificate of occupancy at this stage of the game. So those are the two initial factors for the variance. Is there a hardship? I would suggest there is a financial hardship if the variance is not granted. And all of this is presuming the board disagrees with me on the setback issue initially. So there's a hardship there, financial. I do think that there's a topographical issue, related to topography. And then the second and third test really for this board is there a detriment to the public good, and is there a derogation of the bylaw? So as far as a detriment to the public good, as far as I know, this bylaw was really intended to protect the homeowner from stormwater coming off. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what seemed to be intimated by town council, that this was intended to protect the homeowner with regard to road runoff and not flooding their home. So there really isn't a detriment to the public good because the bylaw is really particular to this one person. And because we're at a lower elevation than everybody else, it's not like this water is coming in and it's it's not going to affect other properties. If you're facing the house, to the left is a vacant lot, and to the right is a house that's at a much higher elevation. So I really don't see how this is going to be any detriment to the public good with respect to allowing this variance of 59.4 feet. And then is there a derogation of the bylaw? And again, if the road was straight, we'd be 119 feet set back from the road. So yes, do we comply? No. But there is certainly at points that there's significant distance between the road and the house. It's just the one corner of the house that's closer than what would otherwise be allowed. So I don't think that there's a derogation of the bylaw. If it's certainly intended that the bylaw was to protect the homeowner from stormwater runoff and flooding, this is a brand new house. Stormwater management is a lot different and a lot better now than it was in the 1990s. If you went to the lot, there is significant natural vegetation between the house and the lawn area, and then there's lawn area before you even get to the house. I mean, the house is still set back, 58 feet at the closest point, but again, over 119 feet at its furthest point from the center of the house. So, there's no issue with emergency vehicles or anything like that. I don't think there's going to be any harm to any neighboring properties because, again, there's a vacant lot to the left and there's a house at a higher elevation to the right. So I really don't see this as any type of issue that would be a derogation of the bylaw. If the bylaw's intent was to, be visible for emergency vehicles, it's really not an issue. If it's really dealing with stormwater management, again, we're still 60 feet, almost 60 feet back, 119 at some points at the center of the house. And, obviously my client is brand new construction. We have stormwater management that certainly is able to handle any of that road runoff. So, I'm happy to answer any questions, but, I think we meet if the board deems that, that gets past the first issue and needs, looks at the variance, I think we do meet the criteria. We do have a hardship. It is based on topography with the sloping of the lot. It's unique. It's the only lot that has this situation, in and around this area, because as I said, there's a vacant lot to the left and there's a lot all the lots as you go towards the Ridge Club, they all go up. So you're going up as you go up Country Club Lane, or Country Club Road. So there really isn't any house that's similarly situated to my client's house. So I think we have that hardship, we have that topography, we have that uniqueness. And again, I don't think there's any detriment to the public good. We're still a significant distance from the road. And again, as far as derogation of the bylaw, we're still a significant distance from the road there. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
My only comment or my only question is, it appears that this elevation issue was discussed all the way back as far as 2022.
Yes.
And you've got a bunch of professionals building a house on a lot that know where it has to be and what the elevation's supposed to be, so you know what the setback's supposed to be. And now you're asking for a variance.
I completely understand.
I don't think that, I don't think a self-imposed hardship is something that deserves a variance.
Well, I would say that,
Well, somebody screwed up somewhere.
and I don't disagree with you. And based on the correspondence that was sent by the town to my client's corporation, it should have been picked up. There is clearly evidence that these correspondence went to somebody at my client's office. Unfortunately, according to my client, they did not get from that person to him where he could have addressed it. But that being said, on the self-imposed hardship, I would say that given the lot itself, he would have needed a variance to get to this point no matter what, if the determination was that the lot was not grandfathered, because he can't cite the lot any further back anyways because of the slope issue. So it's likely he would have come to a variance before this board no matter what.
Even if it had cited the house higher.
He could have, but he could also have cited a hardship because you would have had to bring in a significant amount of fill to do that. And that would have been a financial hardship to him.
Well, you should have known that when you decided to build the house.
I can speak to this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a builder. I've been building since 1980.
Right.
And you're not wrong. And I understand that. And we were sent an email. I never saw the email. I can only tell you the truth. I didn't see it. We thought we were conforming by the center of the lot from the street back when we did our math. My admin person didn't pass that information along. It's not a hardship at the time of building it to call Landers, send a truck down, elevate the building. That was not a problem. So it wasn't like we were trying, and I brought in, I recontoured the lot and so on. And to bring it up another 2 feet or whatever is not a hardship. That would have been easy. Had I known, I would have done it. I spent a tremendous amount of money to make this, to make sure I conformed with conservation, make sure I managed all the drainage on site and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, we made a mistake. I made a mistake, and you're right. I'm not saying that, that's all I can tell you is that's all we did. And I wish I could have, if I had picked it up, if I thought I was non-conforming at that point in time, because I thought I was conforming from the center of the lot to the center, from the 119 or whatever it is, I thought at that point I was conforming and didn't think I needed to go back and check that. I didn't realize that it applied across the lot in front of me.
Wouldn't your engineer or architect be?
Well, we had lots of engineering on that, and, the simple answer is yes, it would have been easy to elevate at that point in time. We had as-built, we had inspections. It wasn't brought up until much later. If I had known, for instance, at the as-built time, I could have either just poured a couple more feet onto the foundation or whatever. But, but none of those things happened, and, it's sort of on my part, it's a mea culpa. I can't go back and change that outcome. I wish I could.
But I would say that this wouldn't be the first time that a building's been constructed that, I've come before this board for a variance. We had one on Town Neck where the garage was built and it was already there, and there was an error made by between the architect and the engineer, and this board provided the variance and, didn't say that it was a self-imposed hardship, even though it was already constructed and could have been caught beforehand. So.
I can understand, you didn't see an email or anything, but you never had a meeting with anybody at the time, Leanne or anyone, to sit down and discuss that?
I was in and out of town hall quite a bit, but you know, Ian wasn't there the whole term. And it wasn't, to be honest with you, it wasn't brought up. I mean, there was a number of things, conservation meetings on site, meetings about, you know, we put a set of stairs up to the street, you know, to make it easier to get up and down, relieve some of the parking, so I met with the engineering department on that, and so on and so forth. It wasn't like we weren't in and out of the building and asking questions or trying not to pay attention.
I just would have thought this particular thing would have been a kind of a topic of discussion, being that it's kind of a super.
I get it, but it didn't arise
happen. You guys
until
never had a
the
topic
very
discussion.
end, and
You
that,
know, according to just notes that I have, that I've gone through everything back and forth and up and down. July 22nd, 22 was mentioned, July 25th, 22, or excuse me, 22, July 27th, August 4th, and then again on July 25, after all was said and done.
At what point of construction was that time? Where was the construction? First of all, can we get your name for the record?
I mean,
Phil, get your name for the record.
Introduce yourself.
my name is Philip Miller.
Thank you.
He's the owner of the
Starbuck Construction. So, I mean, I couldn't tell you back then what he's, you know, without going way back into my notes, I could tell you then. I don't have those in front of me and I don't know off the top of my head. That being said, I'm not trying to deny that the emails weren't sent or so on and so forth. I am trying to tell you, I did not see them. They weren't brought in front of me. We're a big outfit. We have a lot, we're not a small builder. We run 60, 70 people. We've got a big office and so on and so forth. That being said, I don't mean to make it an excuse, but I'm just telling you, I did not see it. It was very easy for me to elevate that building at the time but I thought we were in compliance. There wasn't any information I had at that time that told me that I was not in compliance. I thought my math was right. We'd submitted all sorts of, you know, I don't know how many site plans I've submitted, but it's more than 5, I believe. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you other than that.
Well, I raised this issue before, and maybe you can refresh my memory, but I know that after the foundation is in, it has to be certified. And typically, that's when defects would be found, whether there's setbacks, there's encroachments, and the process would be stopped, and they would either come here to variance or do something. What happened between that point? I mean, you obviously submitted an as-built certification for your foundation.
Yeah.
You had to go to your department and get approved, and then the actual building permit is issued.
So this is for a finished floor, and that wasn't in place on the as-built.
The foundation plan was in
So the
place.
plot plan was submitted, and it was stamped by registered. They actually referenced this section 3710 by their own registered land surveyor.
Yeah.
That's actually referenced on the plot plan. So then when they said the as-built for the foundation, that was for foundation setbacks, but the finished floor would not have been in there at that time because it wouldn't have been framed. So they would. So when I've been looking for the as-built for a year and a half, I think, probably at this stage, and I got it 2 weeks ago. And I spoke to Mr. Miller. I said exactly what I was looking for. Have his engineer call me. No correspondent was reached out, and eventually I got it 2 weeks ago. And I said I went through with Attorney Corain to.
So you didn't have it in your office?
It was never submitted. It was, as I said, there's been 4 or 5, and I think in the original comments I made that I had to piecemeal it together between 3 or 4 to find out exactly what it is.
So, but isn't that typically required to get the
Finished floor would not have been. In
No, I understand, but isn't the certified certified foundation plan required to get the building permit?
It was, and it met the setbacks.
Okay, so they did submit it. They submitted a certified.
But yeah, the plot plan they submitted to get the building permit, they actually stamped it themselves with this 3710 was actually stamped by the applicant. It wasn't, so they knew about it. It was, the plot plan was stamped by a registered land surveyor, was reviewed, and the permit was issued.
So then how did that get missed? If before the house was constructed, you submitted a certified foundation plan, which highlighted the need to comply with 3700, but it still wasn't complied with.
Well, Phil might be able to, I think the engineer who did it thought he was in compliance. I think he measured it from the front of the building to the road at the 119 feet and thought that was compliant.
Okay.
So I think he believed he was in compliance. And it turns out that, as I said, your measurement from the front of the house isn't what you use for your setback because of the way the road curves. So the way the road curves actually puts the front left corner closest to the street, not the middle of the house. So I think the surveyor took that measurement from the center, said it's 119 feet, where this elevation, and we meet it.
One of the other points of maybe confusion is we started with Tris Weller as our, site civil, and at some point he just disappeared. He wasn't answering his phone. I don't know what happened to him. So I had to switch engineers, and we ended up with Warwick Engineering out of North Falmouth. So, there was also two different engineers. Weller was the one that did the foundation as-built, but everything subsequent to that was done by Warwick Engineering and Randy Walsh, the surveyor.
I mean, even as of 2 to 3 weeks ago, when I got the as-built from them and I sent it to Ian, even at that point, there had to be changes because of the way they were calculating it wasn't. Again, it's an extremely confusing bylaw in my opinion, and the way you have to measure things. And so it did. It took some back and forth even when I got involved to make sure it was right the way that it's supposed to be according to that bylaw. I can't speak to, I don't know what the process in the building department is. It seems what Mr. Killian you're getting at is if the town had a question about the compliance, why wasn't there a cease and desist or a stop before we got to this point where now we have a full-blown house? And I can't answer
I
that.
don't disagree, but I certainly understand Ian's position on this, is that it was kind of unknown because you didn't know where the top would be. Sure. It's just a question of it really did fall through the cracks, because I would think on the framing inspection that would have been, somebody would have picked up on that and said, hey, you know what? This doesn't comply. This is the deck here and it really should be up here. But I can understand how that would happen as well. It's just a lot of different people involved in it.
The building code requires that the contractor should be aware of all of this, and we can review it in the past. But simple matter is, they were notified before they bought the lot, during the process, stamped it themselves. It was all there to be. I think it was a fairly productive position from the building department to give them as much information as possible. But we're not building the property.
Were you aware of if any of the notifications that were sent were by certified mail, or were they all just emails? Or
there would be just a standard building permit. I know there was other issues on the site that we did notify, different setbacks that needed to be changed. So we were looking at the whole project, but without the finished floor in place, we don't have and again, I requested it a year and a half ago, didn't get it, and got it 2 weeks ago. So I think, in my opinion, is the building department did as much as they could to kind of make sure everybody was aware of what they needed to do.
I mean, obviously, lots like this are tough in this town. So I mean, you must have had discussions about that, I assume.
Yeah, I'm happy to detail the discussions. I have them up here. So prior to the issuance of the building permit, the building commissioner at that time said, in order to continue review of the application, I'm going to need a revised plot plan that shows the topographical contours in section with 2012 of the zoning bylaws. Also need a certified profile view for the proposed structure to conform with section 3710 of the bylaws. Then it talks a little bit about conservation. Then it goes back and says, on an additional date, this is in 2022, thank you for submitting the updated plot plan. I'm not clear why the edge of pavement measurement taken from the house was taken in a diagonal fashion. Traditionally, measurements such as these are taken on a perpendicular basis. I believe the measurements, I believe the measurement taken from the house was taken I believe the measurements such as these are taken on a perpendicular basis. I believe the measurement should be taken perpendicular from the pavement line, just as the 100-foot setback was taken from the wetland. Section 3700 of the Town of Sandwich Practice Zoning Bylaws addresses building siding, and then they give the link to where that bylaw section is. That is sent directly to Philip Miller through the permitized chat. Then it switches to different people. So then from that point onwards, Mr. Miller is no longer part of the conversation. It goes to a Heather Vidal. Then it goes to Tris Weller, back to Heather Vidal, then Tris drops off, and they're just going back and forth between the previous building commissioner talking about this section of the bylaw. Then we get the plan that is stamped that says will comply with section 3710 of the zoning bylaws. And it has a measurement for where they believe they need to site the building, which is different than where it's currently sited today.
So that's where the error then occurred?
Yeah.
Okay. And nobody picked up on that anywhere? Either the building department or the applicant?
And I think potentially where that confusion lies, again, when there's a comment that says the measurement should be taken perpendicular, well, they did take it perpendicular, and then they give you the measurement that is 119 feet, but the perpendicular measurement is only for the elevation. You have to take the elevation from somewhere else. So I think that potentially caused some confusion as well, where you're told take it perpendicular, but you can't use that perpendicular line for your distance. You can only use it to find out where the road elevation is as it pertains. But, you know, again, that's why I think there's some confusion there. But, you know, as I said, the engineer, as they say, an engineer did stamp it with that number, thinking that they were in compliance.
But again, it sounds like you didn't have that plan.
Well, the plot plan was submitted, it was stamped, it was marked up by the previous commissioner to make sure, be aware of this. They had, I think, a 60-something feet setback. They had it stamped at 3710 was on it, and there was a comment in there, I can't remember exactly, but must comply with this a minimum 60 feet or something like that. So it was the whole way through, but again, their engineers are the ones that are finally going to present that and should be aware of it before, you know.
Was there any discussion in those days of it being not applicable, 3710 not applying as due to the fact that it was a pre-existing non-conforming? Had anyone considered the fact that it was all moot?
I don't think that came up until a prior attorney raised it on the appeal. So I don't know that Mr. Miller ever had an attorney look into it at that point in time to make that argument. I think the first time it came up was during the appeal. So, but as I said, I think it does apply.
We've always applied it for every lot, because we've taken it as your grandfathered in your right to build. This doesn't stop you building, it doesn't take away your buildability. You can still build the lot, you just have to have the house at a certain elevation or bring in fill. We had one case where someone requested a variance from this section, went before the board in 2017, and the board denied the variance based on the fact they believed they didn't need the variance because they actually changed the elevation of the roadway. They dropped the roadway in front of the house in order to be able to keep the building where it should have been sited. That was the only thing, which isn't really relevant in this case, but that was the only thing that I could come across from the town. Otherwise, we've always interpreted this way. We've never changed the interpretation. Looking back through the old files, the planning board state in their public hearing, the reason they're putting this in is to stop people building on Kettlehoe lots. That was the one sentence they used, obviously, which is in a direct conflict to vesting rights, but.
Kind of right, it goes against everything that you would think. You know, as I said, as I think it's just, I don't want to go back to the, but, a setback's a setback and setbacks are grandfathered, ultimately. So, it's probably the first time it's been challenged, so.
Any other questions from the members of the board?
I have nothing further.
Any members of the public have any comments or questions in regard to this variance? Okay.
I'll motion to
Motion to
public
close
hearing, yes.
and take it in advisement. Second. All in favor?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay. We move on. Where are we going next? Freeman? Here's the public hearing notice.
It's already open, right? I mean, we'll just
Oh,
continue.
yeah, that's already open. We just continued. That's right. Sorry. So next question. Bear with me here.
We have a new comment from the building commissioner.
All All right, we're gonna be continuing, number 26-03, 49 Freeman Ave, special permit Avant, for the purpose of adding a second story to a non-conforming structure in the floodplain. Kevin is gonna recuse himself because he did not attend the meeting. I did listen to the tape and I signed an affidavit accordingly. All right, we did receive revised plans, which were included in the board's meeting packet. Let me read Ian's comment memo. Ian, you should have done a little bit more. Comment memo from Ian Reed, Building Commissioner. On March 3rd, 2026, an application was made for a special permit under the Town of Sandwich Protected Zoning Bylaw, sections 1330, 2420, and 4350, parentheses 2, for a property at 49 Freeman Ave. The property is located in an R1 residential zoning district. As per the application, the property is located on an 8,793 square foot lot with 50 feet of frontage. The proposal is to raise the lowest floor of the dwelling to comply with the Massachusetts State Building Code requirements for construction in a flood hazard area and add approximately 1,000 square feet by constructing a second floor. The nonconformities of this project. The property is a pre-existing non-conforming in that it predates zoning, is undersized, and does not have the required frontage. The existing dwelling as presented consists of 984 square feet plus or minus. The application has proposed a second floor with 984 square feet plus or minus, a percentage increase of approximately 100%. The plan does not provide a rear yard setback. The northerly side setback is 12.2 feet. The southerly side setback is 12.5 feet. Both setbacks are to remain. Setbacks for 49 Freeman are 30 feet front, 6 feet one side, 8 feet the other side, and 20 feet rear. Proposed lot coverage is 52%. Floodplain. The property is located in AE flood zone, EL14, giving a design flood elevation of 16 feet. The proposed elevation of the lowest floor is 16.25 feet. The proposed height of the structure, measured from design flood elevation, 16.25 feet, to top of the ridge, 41.88 feet, is 25.63. All calculations are to be verified by regional land surveyor and/or a registered design professional before building permit is issued. Okay, there's no other comments I see. Nope. Okay, Leanne, any update from you?
And just since our last meeting, everything that we needed to be updated has been updated.
Okay.
So new plans and new elevations showing floodplain compliance.
Okay. Ian, any further comment from you, sir?
No, I think that was.
Okay. Mr. Vaughn, I assume?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yep.
We'll open it up to you, sir.
I don't really have anything to add other than what questions you have. If you have any, we're just trying to put on a second floor, so that this is the desire of the homeowner, James Hanush. He's actually here today. We're not trying to change the footprint of the the existing dwelling. We're just trying to stay within those boundaries and add some square footage. That's it.
Okay. Any members of the board have any questions?
Anything you'd like to add in to that?
Glad I'm not being challenged. That's it.
Got the plans in time.
Seemed pretty straightforward to me.
Maybe just the one question would be whether or not there's any building laws.
No, Phil?
Yeah, that was my only, no other site modifications, right?
The only modifications we have that's even close to the ground is to the top of the foundation. That's it. We're just adding to it.
All right, so anybody from the public have any questions or comments on this project? All right, I see none. Take a motion to close.
Motion to close application 2603, was it? Forgive me, sorry. Stepped into that one.
It's okay.
Yeah, 2603.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is. All right, next on the agenda is special permit for number 26-08, 497A, Route 6A, Tolika. Hope I pronounced that right.
Me, sir, how are you?
More realistic in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Purpose of construction greater than 300 square feet in the floodplain. Okay. Sandwich Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on the application of Victor Tolika, applicant, and Stephen S. Keneally, property owner, for a special permit under sections 1330, 4350, and 4300 of the Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaw for property located at 497A Route 6A, East Sandwich, Mass. Assessors map number 53, parcel number 13, for the purpose of construction greater than 301 square feet in the floodplain. The public hearing will be held on April 28th, 2026 at the Sand Hill Community Center, School Community Center, 16 Dewey Ave, Sandwich, Mass. At 6 o'clock. Public record information can be viewed at the Planning and Development Office. Comment letter from Ian. On March 3rd, 2026, an application was made for a special permit under the Town of Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaw, sections 1330, 4350, and 4390, for a property located at 497A, Route 6A. The property is located in R2 Residential Zoning District. As per the application, the property is located on a 109,109 square foot lot. The proposal is to construct a single-story addition to the existing dwelling and to elevate the existing single-family dwelling to comply with the design flood elevation required by Massachusetts State Building Code. Nonconformities. The property is pre-existing non-conforming in that it predates zoning and does not have the required frontage. Square footage of the existing dwelling is not provided, but appears to be 375 plus or minus square feet. The square footage of the addition is not provided, but appears to be 1,175 plus or minus square feet. A percentage increase of greater than 300%. The plot plan shows front setback of 265 feet. A rear setback is not provided. The current easterly side setback of 46.8 feet has a proposed reduction of 7.3 feet to a new setback of 39.5 feet. The westerly side setback of 21.1 feet is proposed to be reduced to 15.1 feet. The property is located in a zone AE EL14, giving a design flood elevation of 16 feet. The proposed elevation of the lowest floor is 16 feet. The proposed height of the structure, measured from design flood elevation, 16 feet to top of the ridge, 40.5 plus or minus feet, is 24.5 feet. All calculations to be verified by a registered land surveyor and or a registered design professional before a building permit is issued. From the Health Department. The following comments from the Health Department. The Health Department has no objections as long as there are no additional bedrooms created. From Heather Gallant. We have one from Jenna, okay. And one from Jenna Silver, Department of Natural Resources. The Conservation Commission has reviewed the request for special permit number 26-08, 497A, Route 6A, Sandwich, Mass. The Commission reviewed the applicant's project and issued an order of conditions effective 12/8/2025, permit number SE66-2060, in compliance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Sandwich Wetlands Bylaw. A copy of the order is attached to this memo. The Commission does not have any comments regarding the special permit request, other than the applicant must comply with the order of conditions. All right, that's the end of the comments. Leanne, an overview.
Motion to open.
Oh, motion to open.
Second.
Thank you, Jim.
Roll call? Roll call?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Leanne, any comment from you?
And so this project is an expansion of a non-conforming structure in the flood zone. It had two special permits previously granted by this board for the expansion of what was once a duck hunting shed, just from what I'm being told locally. The setbacks on one side, it does conform to the 45 feet on the easterly side, I believe. That may need a variance or a finding from the board under 2600C, the average of the setbacks. I know the architect Morel is here with us, provided the average of the setbacks on the laws there too, under that section of the bylaw for you to review. And then the same on the westerly side, the setback has been from 21.1 to 15.1. It's already a non-conforming setback. They'd be increasing the non-conforming nature of that setback, which would also need a finding from the board.
Okay. Ian, any other comment from you besides your letter? No. Okay. Mr. Talika, you're up.
That's Mr. Talika.
Or your representative.
I'm Mr. Orta, Morel
Okay,
Orta.
Orta.
Morel, like the mushroom. So I represent the firm that actually designed the project. Last time I was in this room, I was actually presenting to the Conservation Commission on this project. This project is in a lovely, lovely location, and I'm just actually streaming from my phone right now. I would say it's just such a pristine location. There are very few abutters other than a bunch of cars on one side. We had several presentations to the Conservation Commission due to the location of the site. It's very close to Scorpion Creek. And it is very constrained. It's surrounded by salt marsh, it's surrounded by 100-foot buffers, it's surrounded by a lot of things. So it took a lot of back and forth with the Conservation Commission to actually find a site in that little site to actually build this project that was in a responsible manner, that wasn't going to increase any kind of damage to the salt marsh or any kind of, wasn't going to create any kind of harm to the environment. Because as you can see, I mean, it is in such a beautiful location that that's actually the biggest challenge of this site. So after 3 meetings, I would say 3.5 meetings with the Conservation Commission, that's where the decision or where the potential solution was found that if we were to relocate the site, relocate the existing building, we will actually remove the building and allow us to create a setting, like an area for setback, for a setup for construction that wouldn't be affecting the salt marsh. Because otherwise the building was just about 1.5 feet away from the salt marsh, and there was absolutely no way that we could actually do construction without affecting the conservation area. So that was actually, in reality, was a request by the Conservation Commission, and we, promptly, in negotiating with them, we tried to find a way that was more feasible. That's how the setbacks came to be, and in reality, at that point in time, and that I will assume responsibility as the firm. We did research Mike Ball from Mike Ball Environmental. I don't know if you're familiar with him, and then Ed Stone from surveying. We all look at this property, and we all thought the setbacks were something. And then after looking at the previous decisions from this board, is that we actually realized that the 45-foot setback was actually the one that was to be enabled, not the 12 or the 15 that we thought that we were working with. So at no point we thought that we were encroaching on anything until very recently. So we just honestly working with Leanne, we tried to figure out, okay, is there any way that we can actually make this building compliant in a way, shape, or form? And then it just took looking at the abutters. That's why I want to show this. The abutters are honestly and that's why the document that we generated, the abutters are just sitting above the line in many places. And in many instances. So if we are going to, I think it's 2,900 that you mentioned. If we're going by that, the average of the setbacks by the abutters, we're considerably less than the average that the abutters are actually encroaching into their setbacks. So that's I believe what we're trying to showcase in this case. Is not we're not trying to create any harm in any way, shape, or form. And the only way that we could argument that our building will be responsible or responding to what is existing already is just the average of the neighbors. That they are in a worse condition than we are. Although they're actually abutting their own properties, so their buildings are getting on top of each other. Mm-hmm. Our building is not getting on top of anything. There's absolutely nothing. It's just salt marsh. So it's conservation area. So.
Gotcha. Any members of the board have any questions or comments?
I guess I'm confused. Does that 45 feet meet the requirement of the bylaw that says that the average of setbacks on the property is on either side? Has anybody done any calculations of the buildings on either side of this lot to determine whether or not?
What was left on your
Kevin, did you get one of
place
these?
when you came in, Morel provided that this afternoon to average the setbacks on, this is a landlocked parcel.
So it qualifies for that relief, 30% of the lot depth?
Or the average of the setbacks on the lots there too.
Doesn't the average of the setbacks on the lot on either side typically relate to the front yard?
It's the notation of C is listed under side and rear also in the table on 2600.
Okay, I guess the other question I have is the decision that this board made in 2006? 2006, or was it 2006?
It was both in 2006 and 2007 because they let the permit lapse.
There was a condition of the permit that was issued in 2007, I guess. It basically says the sideline nonconformance shall not be increased. So how do we deal with that?
We would have to allow that relief to be voted upon through this process.
So you would have to modify the special permit that was granted in 2007. And that has not been applied for. Assuming the board would want to do that. Yes.
Which sideline was that, Kevin?
What's that?
Which sideline relief that was?
It just said, it's condition number 4B on that permit, says the sideline nonconformance shall not be increased. No matter how you look at it, even though it probably relates to the 21-foot sideline, so that is being reduced. And you're creating a new nonconformity when you're reducing the 45-foot existing setback and reducing that to 36 some odd feet. So that may even, well, I don't know how that works into the average on either side. I'm confused by that, but that's just me.
I mean, can I say something?
Please, sure.
I mean, thank you. I mean, thank you so much for your question. I think it's actually quite interesting. Honestly, I haven't thought about it. From a math fan that I am, I mean, I love math. When you think about averages, if you have an average on one side that is 15.5 and the other average is 36, so if we add them both and divide them, so the average probably comes out to be like, let's say 35 and 15 is 40, 50, that's 25. It's roughly 25 and change. Is that actually what the average setback on our property is going to end up being? That's actually considerably more than the average setbacks of the properties adjacent that in the document that we generated this morning actually proves. So, I mean, that's just from pure math exercise of averages. I don't know if that will answer your question or like will try to help in any way, shape, or form. I know that 4C, I think is what you mentioned, that's something that I wasn't aware, that the sideline was going to be affected, and if there is an application that we need to fill, or if there's something that we can do at this exact time for us to consider that to be filled, I'm happy to sign anything or anything. I mean, I'm here to work with you. I'm not trying to challenge anything. I'm just trying to find a solution to this project that we've been working very hard to try to achieve.
So how do we,
4B, the special
That
permit, he's reading the special
condition,
permit that
that
was
will
issued in
permit.
2006.
Well, it's really up to the board. Well, there's two things that are really pending before the board, and it's whether or not they feel that setback can be reduced to a conforming 46 down to 39, I believe it is, through 2600C, or is that a variance route? I mean, that's one discussion, and then after that, it's, you know, if you'd want to continue the matter, to then we would have to do a special permit amendment to revise the condition for.
what's the easiest way to do it?
We definitely need to amend that special permit.
Yes,
Okay.
That has to happen.
And then it's just, as you said, can we calculate the setbacks based on this submission?
So Jim, you're saying modify that special permit to reflect the
We have to.
setbacks on this? Yeah, you know, I understand it, but
Yeah.
to reflect the ones on this here.
Well, that's the question. It's two-part answer. Okay, so it's modification of that, subject to approval of this. And what did the numbers come up using, and how many, did we use all these properties or just the two in the front?
That's up to the board. It's because it's,
But on either side, that's what I was wrestling, on either side.
It's quite an open interpretation. I felt to be as a abutters. It's like as
I
soon
would
as you
say
touch,
the side that you're measuring from,
yeah,
right?
it's,
Because
yeah.
that's the side that's affected by the setback, right? So if
So here is actually the proposed site plan. So you can see that the 45 is being reduced to 39.5, so that's a reduction of 5.5 feet. And in this side, we had originally a 20.1, and now it's 15.1. So that's the movement.
yeah, no, I see what's proposed. I guess
Yeah.
the challenge is, what is the average of the setbacks on either side? What is that number? Did anyone, I didn't see
Well,
that.
would we be using this property and this property? Is that what we'd be using?
Yeah, there is one on the.
Yes.
What's the side?
Like if I look at
No, but
What's
this
the
isn't,
front?
this isn't,
Where's the frontage anyways?
out
there's
here.
no front.
There is.
It is. Okay, so
It's a
I'm just saying,
driveway
so,
runs like this.
so what's the front yard? Yeah. What's the side and what's the front?
Well,
Do we
I
have
think, I think we could call these, I mean, the side setback is what's in question. So we're looking at these two. Then it's a question of, okay, we look at these two setbacks to determine the average? Because these aren't in the side.
are in front.
Those are in front, they're not beside it. And we don't know what this is. And what is that line? Is that the front yard of this property? Again, abutting the other?
Yeah, I was having,
Do we know what that is, Leanne? This line here, is that the front yard of this property?
Yeah, that's a lot line.
Okay, and where's the access to this? Is it same as along that same drive?
There's a driveway.
There's a common drive to the subject property? Okay. So that's what we'd be looking at, is the setback of that's the westerly, the northerly property?
So 1.5?
493R.
It says, yeah, it says average setback, but they're putting the setback to the front yard, not the side yard. That
also,
1.5?
is that how, I'm asking, because I couldn't make heads or tail, like, how do you,
What?
do you average the setbacks on this lot, you average the setbacks on that lot, and then average the two lots?
Oh, I see what you're
How
saying.
do
This
you-
is multiple
what is the-
structures. I would say you take the smallest setbacks and average those. So
Well, but-
that's the smallest setback, or this looks like the smallest setback, and then this would be the smallest, and that's how you would average. You wouldn't take all these structures. I don't know. That's not.
It is a quite challenging. I mean, honestly,
I'm asking, that's what,
we had
I
three
don't know
heads
how.
looking at this all day today. It's like, how are we going to measure that? And we were talking with Ed Stone, and he was saying, it's like, I mean, all of this property is actually almost on top of the property line. The only you guys are actually quite far. So, but then it's like, which one is the front yard of the back properties when they are not facing the street? It's where you enter them.
This house.
So it's
You went out there and stood at the house.
Well, I know, but the road is here. The main road is here. So, but we have to make that decision. I mean, what do we want? And I would say, and Kevin, do you agree with that? That logically we want this one and this one?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So these are the numbers we're gonna average out. And that structure there, is that a garage, the one that's closest to the subject property?
let's see, satellite. Can you show me on the plan that you have in your hand?
This here,
Oh yeah, that's that little house right there.
so that's,
That's a 493R, that's a dwelling, and that's some sort of accessory of I don't believe it's a garage, but I think it's some sort of either like a large shed of some sort.
so that's subject to a setback, so that's the distance we want, right? From there to the sideline and from here, which is obviously that's much greater than this. So that's still gonna come out to probably over 40 feet. If you look at this one and this one, if that's 33, almost 34, that's clearly much further than that. That's probably over 50 feet. So the average is still gonna come out greater than 39, I would imagine.
I kind of came to the same conclusion, yeah.
Can you show it to me? So I can also understand it, not to challenge you, but just trying to
well,
understand.
if you could just see,
Can I come to you?
Yeah,
Is that all
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. So we're looking at this setback.
Yeah.
And this one as averages to determine this one.
Oh, interesting, okay.
So that's like 34 feet. This right here is gonna be significantly more than
Correct,
34, just
yeah.
as scale. And I'm just saying, if we take those two averages, I don't think we're gonna get to 40 feet. We're gonna
Yeah,
get much.
But is that on the front setback, Jim?
But also it's like this property actually has another property that's about, and this property is incredibly long, so this is just facing 6i. If I were to add this, there are a lot of other properties over here, so what I understood when, and that was, again, is a complication of how do you read this thing? It's like, I thought was the abutters, the immediate abutters. As soon as you touch it, that's the average that you're trying to determine, and that's what the surveyor actually told us. Like, just go by the ones that are touching, not the ones that are one off or one off. So just go, anything that touches an abutter, that's fair game. That's what I understood from the surveyor.
That's his interpretation, but we're looking at it in terms of what's on each side of
Yeah.
it. This is in the front of it.
Yeah, so this will be 33, and then this will have to be, but it's definitely more than 33.
Isn't that a driveway coming in here?
There's a driveway that comes right along here.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's another driveway right here, right?
Yes, that's how they access it.
So can we ask maybe Ian, here, how do you determine front, what is front, isn't that where the main road is? Or is that where the road or the access is?
From the address, whatever you're asking where the front.
Yeah, how do you determine the,
It's from the street address, so whatever the street address is.
so would this be the front, or would this, like, bring this way? Yeah. Would this be the front? Or would this be the front?
I'd have to look at a full map, but if that's, what, is this on Route
It's
6?
Route 6A.
That would be the
The
front,
address is Route 6A. Yeah.
but I'd have to.
So then that will be encroaching in the front yard. I mean, if you want, we can.
But the address of this is Route 6A, correct?
Yeah, that's 493R, Route 6.
That's what we would say, well, that's the front. The front yard is Route 6A. Same with this, same with that.
Yeah.
So
That could be either one.
these are the setbacks we will be looking at, the two on each side of it.
Okay.
I mean,
So
it
these
is-
ones wouldn't
No,
count?
no.
Yeah, because this one actually will make the case, but.
Yeah, I know.
No, I understand it.
But it's, that's the way it reads.
Do you agree also that, what was getting me, and I know we're going deep on this,
It's
but
hard, it's a hard
you
one.
average the two. I don't think these lots apply, that's just me, but you did average them. And on one side you had 13.4, on the other you had 15.7 to make an average.
Correct.
You should also average this lot, which to me would be
Yeah,
compliant,
correct.
which is 45. So your average on this lot
Correct, it will be
is
different. Yeah, it will grade it down.
much
35.
higher.
Yeah.
And then what is the average
Correct.
here? And then you're
No,
taking,
that's a full argument, and I
So
agree with you.
I just want to be consistent with
Correct.
what we're doing.
Yeah, no, and if anything, if to actually get to a greater understanding, if you want me to actually expand this plan for an area continuum, and then so we can see what the actual averages are. Because right now, to a degree, it's like, this is incomplete information. And it's, again, it comes from us brainstorming with the surveyors, like, where is this, how is this applicable? And his recommendation was like, go to the abutters, and once you show that a couple of the abutters, the averages are low, that should actually make your point. But again, I'm not a surveyor. I'm a designer, I design buildings, so it's.
I don't know if
really
they
not-
are, again, it's on either side, if we're saying these are the either side, and that's the front.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're concerned about the front, right? I think we're concerned
But-
about the
Correct.
Next there too.
Yeah,
Right.
but then another question would be, is like,
Next, yeah, true.
if we don't go to the average,
I don't
is
think
there
you
a
take
way
into account
to
anything
apply?
up front.
Sorry, we don't want to interrupt.
I agree, Kev, that's how I looked at it,
Yeah.
that these fronts
It's
are
the two that Jim
not-
referenced.
I know.
part of it.
How,
I don't know, that's just me, and it sounds
but if you look at the spirit of the bylaw, it's to make it consistent with the neighborhood. And these ones are all real close. So, but that's not what the bylaw says.
So is
Right.
there an
Because
exercise
it's the
on a
south.
variance that we can apply, that we're actually not going to be conforming, but I guess in the spirit of the bylaw, of like trying not to be more abusive than your neighbors have been, can we actually make
Yes.
an argument that we're not trying to encroach more than anybody else has? I'm just trying to find a way.
no, I-
Working
I
with you.
Sure, yeah.
Full disclosure. And I'm in my knees, but that wasn't intended.
It's,
So we,
all to go back procedurally to like, hurt you down to an amendment of the previous special permits?
well, that would allow us to even apply this. Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can't apply any changes. They have to stick with what they got.
I think you also need a dimension on that aerial plan for reference. Dimension of 3311, and I fully agree that this other one looks much further away, but I do think there should be a dimension on that plan showing what the actual distance is. That's just me.
Probably certified too. Should be certified.
This is a strange one because you got 45-degree angles. What's the farthest corner?
I think you take the shortest distance, realistically. I would, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, up here.
Yeah, whatever.
Instead of
it
trying
is.
to go to,
Yeah,
yeah,
the shortest distance to that sideline, whatever it is.
I don't know which one's on because they could be both sidelines because it's a 45-degree angle to Route 6 in. So
But I would
is
say-
this the frontage?
I'd be looking at whatever the sideline, whatever, as close as it is.
I know the driveway comes in here, so. that's what I'm
You
saying.
have to remember why we put that condition in there. Remember why you did it?
No, 2007.
Yeah, Jim, Bill Dawes was on that one.
Yeah.
We'll call it.
All right, so procedurally, where do we go from here?
Well, we can't discuss the amendment because it's not before us.
Right.
So I think they have to start there
Okay.
and be prepared to argue what the actual distances will be. Because you may find, if you start doing some math, that it's not gonna work out for you.
Yeah, it could be.
And it could be, you could
Could be,
say
yeah.
it'll be then a variance.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to understand. Is like which one is the path that will be more welcome by the board? Like I can do math all day long, but sometimes the math doesn't work for you. And if that's the case, it's like how can we make it?
So the question is the board in agreement about how we want to calculate the setbacks in terms of the properties we're concerned with, what distances we want? As Chase raised the issue here, we should be looking at both the distance on each sideline, right? Averaging out each lot.
I think, from my perspective, it should be the lot, this lot here,
Yeah,
and that lot there.
agree, but are we gonna be looking at both setbacks on each side and then averaging them out?
No, you look at the setback that I guess is closest to that lot line.
Is that how it reads? Is that how the bylaw reads, or I thought we had to take an average?
Well, you would average the setback on this lot and the setback on that lot. That's how you get
Only
your.
one setback, we don't have to average each side of the house?
I don't think so.
Leanne?
Average of the
What
setbacks.
explaining it is how we've
It's just
always-
one, we take one number,
We
the
take one
closest
number
one.
from each side, and
Okay.
that's how it's the average.
Sorry, Chase, you were wrong.
So which in theory will be the shortest one?
Just reading it, Jim.
It's such a challenge. It's like
Average of the setbacks of the buildings on the lot next thereto. Average of the
It's poorly
setbacks
written.
of the buildings.
Because your setbacks is plural, and it could be both.
On the lot next thereto, okay.
All right, so that's what we agree that we want, those two setbacks?
Can I ask a follow-up question before we agree on this? So let's say that I do that, because I'm more than happy to do whatever you ask me to do. And then the math doesn't work. So do I come here and say, hey, remember you asked me to ask this? It doesn't work. Can I ask for a variance now? Or should I just go, is it worth to actually just put in the setback average out? Or do both at the same time? It's like, can I bring you setbacks, either they work or not? If they work, then it's a straightforward process, but if it doesn't work, then we can actually do the variance at the same time, that we're trying to show that in the spirit of, we're not trying to encroach any more than anybody
You
else.
have to apply for a variance,
Okay,
accept the
yeah.
application. But, looking at these numbers, I can pretty much estimate that it's not gonna get you to 40 feet.
Yeah, so that's why it's like, I'm just trying to save you time and save everybody's.
Should that plan be certified for that reason, so we can see exactly what it is?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, because this is just GIS and photographs.
Yeah. But so if, let's say that when I go to Ed Stone, which is our surveyor of record, and he does the math and it doesn't work, and I just tell Leanne, it's like, Leanne, the math is not working. Can we do an application for a variance, and can I come back in front of the board, not trying to waste your time or anything, or like, and say, hey, remember me, I just want to apply for a variance. And again, it's like all full intentions, all clear. I'm not trying to be, and I know it will be up to you to do it, but that's all I can do.
Well, you just need to read the requirements to get
For the
the
variance,
variance, you know,
okay.
what they are. I mean, there's hardship and topography, so you
Yeah.
need to look at to see if you apply, if that
Yeah.
applies to you.
Yeah, I do. I mean, this side is such a challenging side that the conservation has been like pushing us from every angle. That is like there is really no way other way that we can do it. It's like other than a floating building. It's like it's just not going to. So I mean, we're already reduced the building a lot. So, but yeah, no, I'm more than happy to. Like, thank you for everything.
Procedurally, so also before the board is the fact that they're building within a floodplain. I'm just trying to shake out with all these different things happening. Would it make sense to remove the nonconformities and actually go forward with the floodplain process, and they could add the nonconformities into the special permit amendment? Because we'd have to remove that section, and then we could expand the building under an amendment if we went through this. But we could adjudicate the floodplain qualities at this juncture. Otherwise, we could have 3 permits for the same property on one night. Doing a special permit amendment, a special permit for floodplain, or a variance.
But what, if they can't comply with the setbacks, they're gonna have to change everything, right? They're gonna have to go back and kind of redesign
Unless
everything.
the conditions say they must comply with setbacks.
Yes, but again, they'll have to
Outside.
like start over and kind of redesign the whole layout. So should we, I mean, I don't know, I guess it's up to the applicant which direction he wants to go, and if they want to continue down the road and with all these different permits moving forward, or kind of take one at a time. I'm not sure which the best route, to be honest.
I mean, I will have to run it by Stephen, but I can tell you that the level of investment and time that we already put into this, I think that will make the project probably non-feasible if we don't actually, I mean, Big Tarts Lake, which is the applicant, he's a contractor, so we're just waiting for that to actually do a finished application with Ian so we can actually start construction. Honestly, we thought the hard part was behind us, it was conservation that took up several months. So I don't think that the finances will be there if we actually don't come to fruition, like I guess in a meeting or so. So any way that I can try to achieve that in any way, shape, or form that will satisfy the requirements of the board. I mean, that's all I can request at this time.
Just continue to the next meeting and let you talk to your engineer and get the updated measurements on those buildings, so you know whether you're there or you're not there,
Yeah.
and which direction you gotta go.
The other option to consider is to simply comply with the existing setbacks. Is that kind of not an option for you folks to?
Not by conservation won't let it go.
The existing setbacks?
The existing setbacks, yeah, because the existing setbacks are already.
Well, you're proposing to increase the
Yeah,
nonconformities.
but the way that if you look at I can open my screen.
Sorry, I'm gonna jump in. He had to comply, so we had the first approval from conservation with setbacks that you satisfy with, that you would be satisfied
Existing
with.
setbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had that plan approved, and then conservation was not satisfied with the location of the building, so what he did is move the whole building, not only decreased it, he actually shrunk it by 4 feet.
Yeah.
And then he moved the whole building over by 6 feet.
It's like we're trapped in every side that we go.
So this thing been traveling all over the site plan for numerous times, guys. Believe me, we tried to make it work, but it's
So this is a leach field, and this is clearly the tank. And
Yeah.
this is a very unique system because it's an air system, because all of this is conservation all around. So it's like the system is actually a brand new system that it's like, in theory, it cannot be moved at this point because the permit was actually quite hard to achieve. I wasn't part of that permitting. Let me just start from there. So the original building was there, and the setbacks were based on that. So when we tried to put the building here, we were like the addition in here, we were getting too close to this line, and that's when conservation said there's no way you can build a building that is going to affect so you have to push the building there, and that's why, okay, if you want us to push there, will be at least equal distances from the wetlands. That's what we thought, but then at the time we thought that the setbacks were 12. And we thought, okay, we're achieving something that is amazing. It's like we're making a good building, we're making everybody happy. And if anything, we're hand delivering the building. As if you've seen the design, it's actually like a balcony on a building that is in a flat, so, because we don't want to get close to it. So at this point, we're like and there is an imaginary line in here that also conservation would not let us go past that way, because we thought, dismiss, shake the sense, feedback, no. There's an imaginary line, so we're being like, where do we go with this building? And we already reduced it considerably. So at this point, it's the minimum dimension that will make it functional.
Yeah, it's been reduced, and then it also has been moved. You know, the problem that I see, we're dealing with 3 different governments, let's call it. You know, there is a flood situation, there is conservation situation, and then the zoning situation. Not to mention the building situation. You know, and we're willing to comply with the floodplain. Basically, I have to take this thing, up 6 feet, move it over 9 feet. Put a bunch of flood vents in there.
The building is kind of,
you know what I mean? Then conservation, hay base and silt fence, all that stuff, everything got to be protected. The turtles and everybody that lives in there have to be left in peace. So. I mean, we're willing to do all that stuff, you know what I mean?
And ultimately, you're the authority. I mean, I'm not here.
Just like we're squashed from like every direction. Like this thing, like being, like I said, reduced. The deck got cut out, and
What's the square footage of the first floor?
the existing part is tiny. I think it's like 300.
Yeah, the existing building is 780 square feet, and just 2 plates of 300 and so.
New building,
900 square feet.
It's like 900
On the first floor.
Yeah, it's just one single floor.
But it's only single floor. It's only single floor. It's basically kitchen, dining, and living room. That's all.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't there a requirement that the septic system be 10 feet from the building?
Correct.
Yes, correct.
And this seems to say 6 feet.
6 feet, correct.
Did you get a variance from the Board of Health?
No, that's another one. That's during conservation. The Board of Health was there, and like conservation department was talking to the Board of Health. It's like, okay, can we move this building closer to the 10, like encroaching into the 10 feet? And then there was interpretation. Okay, is it 10 feet of occupiable space, or is it 10 feet to an occupiable slab, or is it 10 feet to a? That was also another series of negotiations, and what they all agree at that point was that 6 feet was the only number that would accept. And that's why we don't have any sonotubes, because we wanted to have some sonotubes to hold. I mean, we are carrying a cantilever that is a 30% cantilever, just so we're staying away from a leach field, which, I mean, you can imagine how costly that exercise is, but that was the only negotiation that we could achieve. So we're trying to build the impossible.
What is the existing square footage?
I believe it's 708. I may be mistaken, but I can open the plans. I have them here.
And you have it at 984.
That's the addition. That's I believe the addition.
New addition is about 980.
It says the existing dwelling, as presented, consists of 984 feet.
Let me 1 second. I just took my glasses.
I added it. It appears to be 375 plus or minus square feet.
Wrong one. You're on frame. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, this is the one that was permitted by conservation. So,
Other one.
did you get a different name? So here we go. So the existing house is 750. The proposed addition is 958. The total new area is 1708.
1,700 square feet.
And originally we had a garage and we had a much larger one, and we just got pushed back to as little as we could make it. And again, that's no new bedrooms because they are not allowed. It's just entertaining space. Just a living room. Because right now it's just a kitchen and a bedroom.
Yeah, right now you walk in a house, it's basically kitchen on the first floor, set of stairs, a small bathroom, set of stairs, and it's like open loft bedroom, if you can even call it a bedroom. So it's really, it's not even a cottage, I don't know.
I think I've been there for some reason.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, because it's a rental. It's like they use it as a rental, and it's beautiful. It's honestly like a 1 bedroom on top with the kitchenette in the bottom. Right now, and the client is like, I cannot move there because like I don't even have a living room. So he was like, either I sell it or I'm going to lose money because I cannot do anything. So we tried to work around it, and so we ended up with this engineering marble that is a floating to a degree, a ginormous, look at the overhang.
Yeah, it's already just cantilever.
It's like, have you ever seen a house designed that way just to try to avoid being away from the leach field? It is quite challenging. It's like originally we had a lot of steel, now we're actually changing it to LVLs. But this is just because the leach field is here. We would love to throw a pole, like a sonotube, but then health wouldn't allow us. So.
What's the width of that addition?
The width is 20, but the width on the ground is 14. So, and originally it was 24, but we kept reducing it.
It was 24, and then we had decks too on that.
Oh yeah, and there was a deck on the other side, but the deck also.
So first we had to cut out the deck, and then we had to cut out 4 feet from the building, and then conservation said move the whole building.
Yeah, but not to waste your time. It's like as long as like you guide us, and what's the way that we can move forward is ultimately what the answer is. Like I don't want to have you all night here and also have my toddler waiting for me.
The bottom line is you're adding 14 feet to the width of the house.
I'm adding 14 feet, I believe so, yes, that is correct.
So the overall now is 38 feet wide, where the previous one was 25.
Here it is, correct. So that is fully correct. Before it was 26, I believe, and now it's 38.
Wouldn't it be easier just to put a second floor on it?
It's already a second floor.
There is a second floor. It's a skinny tall cottage.
Yeah, the house is like a little tower.
It's narrow. Yeah, it's only bedroom and a bathroom. Is there a bathroom now on the second floor?
Yeah, it is a bathroom, yeah.
I mean, it's a difficult lot. You're squeezing an awful lot on that lot.
Oh, yeah.
From my perspective, quite frankly, but.
It's just such, I mean, once you visit the lot, I mean, if Brendan has been there, sorry, I took my glasses off so I can see anything. The lot is just so beautiful. It's like that, and I understand the client why he wants to pursue it. It is such a beautiful location.
It's gorgeous spot.
This is the existing building.
Yeah, that's the existing house, basically.
So it's a post and beam, 350 square feet, 250 square feet, like little kitchenette with a bathroom and then a bedroom on top. So no living, no anything. So it's like the only thing that it works for is for renting it. That's a bedroom. So, and because it used to be a hunting cottage. So
He's lucky he was able to get that.
Huh?
I said he's lucky he was able to get what he's got.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess he bought it. He bought it after it was, and then he worked with the authorities to actually have it permitted, because I don't know how, I don't know the full story about it, but yeah, it's just lovely. It's like, that will never fly these days, but yeah, it is such a lovely. So we're just trying to add a living room to it. All we know is that's what it is.
There is a shed over there. What is the setback to that shed right now? Was that taken into consideration?
Setback to the existing.
That's an accessory structure, that would be probably 10 feet, right?
Yeah, sheds are under 200 square feet, they fall into a different classification. So
all you're doing is adding a living room on the first floor.
Correct, that's it.
What's the dimension of the living room?
It's 900 square feet.
Extra.
Additional, yeah.
So it's 14 by what?
It is, I'll tell you in a second. Where did I go?
Well, it's 15 by 25, right? That's the footprint of the existing?
That's the existing, so yeah, the length of the new is 54 feet long by 20, 54 by 20, but I mean, you actually reduce, we're adding another bathroom.
Yeah, it's a half a bathroom and the staircase is half of the addition, basically.
So yeah, in reality, yeah.
Area.
So it's just a living room and a tiny dining area. If I put it this way, probably it's easier, but.
One open room, basically.
Okay, we've talked ourselves back into the beginning here, so.
Yeah, that's all right.
So we're gonna leave it at setbacks. We want setbacks of the adjoining properties, just the one setback, okay?
And just the side properties.
What's that?
Just the side properties.
On the side, yeah.
And those two, not the ones that are side, a little further behind.
And then you'll have to file a special permit amendment
Okay,
to see if we even go beyond that consideration.
okay. So if we don't comply with the setbacks, then that the special permit amendment will be for you to consider if we can actually build it, even if we're not complying with the setbacks.
Correct, yep, so that we can apply this.
Leanna, you're able to guide us through. It seems incredibly complex. So, well, thank you so much for your time. And,
So we want to continue?
guidance.
Yes. What's our schedule look like?
May 12th is the next meeting. You have 2 matters already on that date. That is May 26th.
So is May 12th give you enough time to get things together, or you need?
Yeah, I think so.
Do they not have enough time to file and get the hearing on there?
Not for the amendment, no.
All right, so we might as well move it to the,
There's a submission deadline of May 5th for the May 26th meeting.
all right, so we're gonna continue to May 26th, which will give you enough time to apply for the
Yeah.
amendment.
You know, honestly, like figuring out the setbacks probably will take within the week, and after that, it's like I can give them to Leanne and say, hey, this is not going to fly, or hey, yeah, we're going to present everything that it will fly, hopefully, but if not, it's just the process of doing the rest of the documentation. So.
Okay.
So we'll just have to do a little digging to find out why we put that condition in there.
All right, well, I'll take a motion to continue this special permit.
608.
2608 to the May 26, 2006 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, we'll see you on the 26th.
See you in a month.
And you understand what we're looking for.
Yes, and hopefully Leanne also understands it too.
Yes.
She's great at that.
Yes, no, she guided us already. So much appreciated, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you for your time.
Good night, gang.
Good night, guys.
All right, and last but not least, number 26-09, 18 Quiet Street, special permit, Pinell, for the purpose of construction greater than 301 square feet in a floodplain. Okay. The Sandwich Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on the application of Justin and Alyssa Pinell, applicants and property owners, for a special permit under sections 4350 and 4390 of the Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaw for property located at 18 Quiet Street, East Sandwich, Mass. Assessors map number 60, parcel number 45, for the purpose construction greater than 301 square feet in the floodplain. Public hearing will be held on April 28, 2026 at the Sandport School Community Center, 16 Dewey Ave, Sandwich, Mass. At 6 p.m. The public record information can be viewed at the Planning and Development Office. All right, I'm ready for Ian's dissertation.
I'll motion to open if you like.
You could do that.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Keep forgetting that, Jim. Thank you. From Ian Reed, Building Commissioner. On April 7, 2026, an application was made for a special permit under the Town of Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaw sections 4390 and 4350, parentheses 2, for a property at 18 Quiet Street. The property is located in R2 Residential Zoning District. As per the application, the lot consists of 30,495 square feet and 135 feet of frontage and is part of a cluster subdivision. The proposal is to construct a new dwelling with the garage and pool. The lot was created on September 5, 2000. The setbacks are 30 feet front, 20 feet side and rear. The plot plan submitted is not stamped by a registered land surveyor. The setbacks are shown in table form as front setback 36.7 feet, side setback as 21.6 feet, and rear setback as 142.4 feet. The second side setback is not provided. No setbacks are represented on the plan drawing. The lot coverage is shown as 20%. The application does not include a square footage of the dwelling. The drawings show a basement height of approximately plus or minus 9 feet. The building permit application shows a finished basement with living space. This would not comply with the Massachusetts State Building Code in regards to construction in a flood hazard area. However, there have been discussions surrounding a submittal to FEMA for a letter of map revision. The property is located in AE flood zone, EL14, giving a design flood elevation of 16 feet. The proposed elevation of lowest floor is 18.10 feet. The building code requires that the garage shall be unfinished and flood resistance. The proposed height of the structure, measured from design flood elevation, 18 feet, to top of grade, 50.10 feet, is 32.1 feet. All calculations are to be verified by a registered land surveyor and/or registered design professional before building permit is issued. And from Jenna Silver, Conservation Commission. Conservation Commission has reviewed the request for special permit number 26-09, 18 Quiet Street, Sandwich, Mass. The Commission reviewed the applicant's project and issued an order of conditions effective 11/13/2025. Permit number SE 66-2061 in compliance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act in the Town of Sandwich Wetlands Bylaw. A copy of the order is attached to this memo. The Commission does not have any comments regarding the special permit request, other than the applicant must comply with the order of conditions. And that is the end of the comments. All right. Leanne, any comments from yourself on this?
Just to note that the main purpose of this application is to introduce fill into the floodplain. I think today we got a letter of the LOMAR packet that will be submitted to FEMA, or yesterday evening, the LOMAR packet that will be submitted to FEMA with a community acknowledgement form after this process takes place, if approved, whereby they will be seeking to be removed from the FEMA maps that they are in the floodplain due to the introduction of fill. So then some of those construction requirements wouldn't be necessary once the property is no longer within the floodplain. Several properties within this development have already gone through that process.
And LOMA approved it.
FEMA does approve it. It's a little bit of a long process. They go through a conditional letter of map revision, then fill's place, engineered fill, and then they come back out, resurvey, and then they reissue new maps.
Okay. All right, Mr. Wallace?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Brian Wallace with JC Engineering here on behalf of the applicants, Justin and Alyssa Pinnell. Really, I don't have too much more to add. I think between the memos and Leanne's description of what we're here speaks for itself. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
So they're here simply because they want to put fill in the plane, but they haven't got the approval yet.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So this used to happen. Yes, this used to happen all the time prior to the adoption of the new floodplain bylaws. But in that we say absolutely no fill, it can be placed on a property in the floodplain. However, they're placing the fill on the floodplain to get it out of the floodplain. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation here.
Yeah, and if I...
What about all the other concerns? Setbacks, coverage, no concern on the plan.
I can answer that. Yeah.
You're assuming you'll get approval, and then will thus be able to have a finished basement. I just, there's a lot there that seems...
Question mark.
Yeah, not to be,
no worries, I can address
Is there a reason we're being asked to approve it before you've got all the other details resolved?
Yeah, so the FEMA, the CLOMR process requires that a community acknowledgement form be signed by the community floodplain manager, which I believe is you, Leanne, or...
Tether Harper, the assistant tenant.
All right, so we actually can't even submit the paperwork to FEMA until that's signed, and we would not be able to, the town would not be able to sign that form until we go through this process, as far as I'm concerned. So in our experience, these are typically approved by FEMA. We've done a few, not necessarily in Sandwich. I've done a few in Wareham, and I haven't ran into any issues where they have denied a request for this. And I think, as Leanne mentioned, most of the properties in this particular area of the neighborhood are all sort of subjected to the same floodplain areas. Elevation 14 kind of intersects most of these properties, and I believe they've all gone through this process as well to take the land out of the floodplain. Another option is to, you take the, you place the fill, in other communities you can place the fill and then certify that the land is out of the floodplain, but that's not an option due to this bylaw.
I would think until we get everything that was noted in the comment request letter, that we just continue it until he gets approval.
So we can't sign the community acknowledgement form.
Yeah, you can do
Until-
that, but that's not us.
Well, so the only thing I would say is you're not actually authorizing the construction within the floodplain, because he technically won't be in the floodplain when he gets these approvals. The decision I've referenced is we're only authorizing the introduction of fill on the property. That's really what the request is. And then anything to do with the building, if it needs relief from the board, will come back at a later date. But if everything goes through with FEMA, it's not going to need any relief from the board, and all of those are building code requirements. That'll be done through the building permit.
So,
Pretty simple.
okay.
It's nice to have an easy one tonight.
That's what I was looking for too.
I think what one person in the past did was, same situation. They applied for a permit to build in compliance with the flood zone, at the elevations and everything, put a full foundation in with a basement, and then applied for the Lomar F. But with the intention that if they didn't get the Lomar F, they would simply fill in the basement and then be floodplain compliant.
That's a risky way to do it, I'd say.
It is.
What we're doing, the C loamer, which is the conditional loamer, is the assumption that, this lot gets developed this particular way. You're gonna once you go to the final loamer process and everything matches up the way it's supposed to, then you're good to go with FEMA.
So they will require you to bring in the fill before you do any excavation?
Nope, they would allow you to build the house and place the fill. And then, when we do the as-built,
It has to comply.
you would see you'd see the location of the structure, and you would see the adjacent grades and what those were built to. And as long as it matches up with the C loamer, then
Yeah.
yeah.
They just built a house out here with a 4-foot crawl space.
Yeah, that would be the other option too.
Somebody just did that out there.
But it is a key difference, and you're right, Brendan. It's like I don't ever recall the C loamer discussion. I recall us approving flood compliant,
Is this new
code
because of this
compliant
change?
construction.
Yeah, but this is new because of this change, right? This isn't.
What's the change? Sorry, I don't know. I feel like
When
I'm
the
missing something.
floodplain regulations changed in 2021, and so prior to that date, the fill would have always just been placed on the property, and then we would have got the letter of map revision. We would have got the conditional letter of map revision first and then the letter of map revision. However, once we changed it, we said no fill can be placed on a lot without going through the special permit process. So I would see this more as, with the special permit request, is the introduction of fill on the property, not the construction of the dwelling. That'll come later, and if it needs relief, it would come back before the board for relief. But if everything goes correctly, it will not need relief from this board. Not relief from this board is in like built, and then it comes back like ahead of time.
I've seen that before.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I don't know. When you say the change, meaning the map changed.
No, the requirement.
Yeah,
Before
the
they could just bring the
requirements will
fill and
change.
make it happen, now they have to get permission first.
For the fill.
We're just giving permission to
Yeah,
fill.
we're just giving permission for the fill, which he doesn't even know if he can do yet.
If FEMA denies our request, then yeah, it wouldn't matter at that point. We'd have to come back for something
Just
different.
needs to, he needs to show that he's got permission to do it, so he can move forward with the process.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Kevin?
Do any of these plans show us what the elevations are on the adjacent lots and what impact, if any, the addition of this fill would have on the adjacent properties?
The plans that we have don't show the features of adjacent lots, but I would say that these lots are all very similar in how they're being built, where they're all being elevated to a certain extent around the house to be out of the flood zone. So what we're introducing, which is about 200 cubic yards of fill to the site, wouldn't really be a substantial impact on those adjacent properties. This neighborhood also went through a really comprehensive review by Cape Cod Commission, and nothing can occur really within 20 feet of side setbacks. So there's a little bit of a buffer there as well between each of the individual lots.
I guess the question is, are we prepared to accept that, or do we want to know what the elevations are on the adjacent properties?
I think it's a good idea, based on dealing with complaints in the past for runoff and that kind of thing.
The lots on either side of this already developed?
I believe so, yeah. One was actually just recently completed, and I think they have, that was 20 Quiet Street, and I don't know if that came in front of the CBA at all. But they actually have retaining walls.
Like the building code, they have flood vents and.
They do, okay, so
they didn't go for long.
okay, but I do believe they brought up the grade of the house itself.
Not that I was.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
21 did.
21, okay, so that's a little further up around the cul-de-sac there. Yeah, we did, as part of the research, we did pull all the plans of the adjacent lots to kind of get an understanding of them, but we don't have those submitted with these.
So Kevin, would you feel more comfortable getting those numbers before we go further?
What numbers? Elevations?
Well, I think my only concern would be what impact, if any, the bringing of additional fill onto this lot would have on the adjacent properties.
Well,
If everybody's comfortable accepting his representation, I probably won't even be voting on this because you've already got your 5 members, so I don't think you necessarily have to satisfy me, but.
We know better. You just indicated that the Cape Cod Commission, did they condition the approval based on 20 feet? You can't come within 20 feet of the sideline?
Yeah, this all occurred, I think, around 2000, and yeah, they put pretty strict set requirements. You can't have more than 5,000 square feet of lawn area. So a lot of the areas, there's a buffer between each lot too, which is to remain sort of natural. So we're not. Some trees are being removed just because they're so close to the house. However, the ground cover itself is going to have to remain sort of a natural wooded ground cover. So that certainly helps with flood mitigation as you go from one lot to the next.
So it'd be actually 40 feet, because it'd be 20 feet on each lot, right?
It's at least 40 feet, yeah, between.
Yeah, I know the neighborhood. The houses are very well done and nice, and there's really no major dips in.
It's relatively level from what I recall looking at the adjacent plans, yeah.
The whole place is a
All right, well, we want to close and take it under advisement?
I will make the motion to do so.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right.
All right, thank you so much for your time tonight.
All right. No board discussion, and we have deliberations. I'm going to just excuse myself for a minute.
Jacob Abbott. And I remember the other guy, Jonathan, oh shit, now I forgot.
The house that used to be in the middle?
He owned, his family owned property, Jonathan Leonard.
Oh, yeah.
They owned property all the way up to Sandy Neck Road, I think. His family. I don't think I'm on any of these deliberations, am I? So I can go.
Wow.
And Maureen asked me if I wanted to be reappointed, but I'm not sure you guys want me to be reappointed. I cause, more lengthy meetings. I ask too many questions.
No, questions are fine. So what do we have? We have Country Club decision and
2.
Quiet Street.
Freeman. Quiet. We gotta decide.
Freeman seems pretty.
So the question is, do we want to try and wade through all these?
I guess you don't need me anyway. You got your 5.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
Brendan's not on which one?
He's not on Country Club on both of them.
All right, so do we want to start with that?
I'm gonna start with that.
I think those may end up taking the most time. And we decide what to do. All right.
Country Club, the first one was the appeal, right?
yes, I'm sorry.
Good night, Kevin. Take care. See you soon.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so procedural history, an application for appeal of the decision of the building commissioner was filed on September 17th, 2025, for the purpose of appealing a written zoning determination of the building commissioner dated August 22nd, 2025. After proper notice was given, the public hearing was opened on October 14th, 2025, and closed on October 28th, 2026, with extensions of time. The application was accompanied by a building location plan entitled Building Location Plan for 110 Country Club Road, Sandwich, Mass., prepared for Miller Investments, LLC, by Weller and Associates, dated March 14, 2023. The board reviewed the application and all other materials submitted prior to the close of the public hearing. The board received and gave due consideration to testimony given at the public hearing, I should say hearings probably, and the following members attended the public hearings. So we have Neve Terrio, Killian, and Van Buskirk. Okay, findings. The board finds that the application meets the requirement of Section 8, Mass General Law, Chapter 40A. Subject property is located in the R2 zoning district. The applicant has filed an appeal based on the building commissioner's determination that Section 3710 of the zoning bylaw applies to their property. The building permit was issued to construct a single-family dwelling on the subject property on September 15th, 2022. A final failed inspection was recorded on January 9th, 2025 for lack of compliance with Section 3710 of the zoning bylaw. Correspondence from town staff and the applicant's representatives were submitted as part of the zoning board package showing conversations related to the applicability of Section 3710 in dates ranging from March 2022 to August 2025. The board finds that Section 3710 of the protective zoning bylaw does or does not apply, as this bylaw is an elevation requirement and not listed and exempted under Section 2550 or 2555. So my take on this is it does. This is a bylaw that affects setback, absolutely. We can debate that, well, yeah, it's about elevation, but no, it's really about moving the setback, unless you want to try and bring a significant amount of fill to raise it. So it's really about altering the setback, not necessarily altering the elevation, because the requirement is based on the setback having to be moved. So my opinion is that this is a pre-existing non-conforming protection. The lot was created before that new bylaw went into effect, so it doesn't apply. That's the way I look at it, because theoretically, that bylaw could render a lot unbuildable if there isn't enough fill, or it makes it impractical to bring that much fill to try and make it comply. To me, that creates hardship. So my belief is that it is in fact a setback requirement. It was put specifically to move the house back from the road. It wasn't designed to have the applicant have to bring fill. It was designed to move the house back from the road. So therefore, it is altering the setback, which in my opinion makes it pre-existing non-conforming protection.
And I think that I agree with what you're saying, but the elevation is at a certain point dictates what the setback has to be. That's the way I read the bylaw.
Correct, but it's about moving the house away from the road based on...
Right, or if you build it higher, you don't have to.
I agree, but it's not about forcing you to build a house higher as it is to move it away from the road. I understand the argument. The thing is, I knew the gentleman who put this in place and had a conversation with him many, many years ago. Unfortunately, I can't remember all the details of it, but that's what it was about. It was about moving the house away from the road. Because let's face it, there's practical limits to how high you can raise the house and make it comply with this bylaw, or, depending on how the depth of the lot, what you can...
Well, in this case, what's a practical limit? What would the...
Exactly. You can only go so back based on the depth of the lot. And in this case, they would have exceeded that.
But if they left the house in the current position,
my point of it is,
they've had to gone up to...
is that it's pre-existing non-conforming. Is that this bylaw was put in place after the law was created. It shouldn't apply in the first place because it affects the setback in one way, shape, or form. Granted, there's mitigation that you can allow you to overcome it, but it's about setback. It's about changing the setback requirement based on other parameters of the lot. It's not about making the house higher as much as it is. I understand both arguments for it, but that's what it's ultimately doing, is changing the setback requirement. So that's my take on it, is that it shouldn't apply to any lot that was built prior to that bylaw going into effect. Just like any other bylaw that go into effect that changed any other setback requirements, it shouldn't be applicable.
Anybody else have a comment? I wasn't seeing it that way.
I mean, that was just, if you go by town council, they see it differently.
They do.
You know, but initially, when I first saw it, I kind of felt the same way that Jim did. But well, I mean, if it's put in after, how does it affect something from before? Like, just getting around that was my only.
But I understand you can take the position, well, it's an elevation change. Well, okay, you can call it that, but you can also call it a setback change. So that's the way I would rationalize it, because the practical nature is raising the height of a building is not always practical to be able to meet that requirement.
Well, when he bought that lot, he must have had some idea. I mean, he said he's been a builder for many years. He's got engineers and architects, and he had to know, based on the way the bylaw is written, what he could or couldn't do when he bought that lot.
Perhaps, but that's not material to that. I'm just saying, as a practice, as a rule, it shouldn't apply to any lot that was created before that bylaw went into effect.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Leanne?
Yeah, she doesn't like it.
This is board discussion for deliberations, so I don't.
So you can agree or disagree, but that's the way I've looked. I've dealt with similar properties with similar issues before, and I can tell you this. You know, those lots tend to be kind of narrow, and you just can't make them comply. But my point is that if it affects one of those factors, i.e. setback, then it shouldn't apply. Because you could come up with a whole host of other bylaws which you could implement that would affect the buildability of a lot in that manner, making it unbuildable. And so you essentially zone those lots out of buildability, and you shouldn't be able to do that. If they're buildable before the bylaw went into effect, it should be buildable after. It shouldn't be affected by it in any way, shape, or form.
I don't see it that way.
I won't say anything.
It's okay.
What about you, Brad? You got a little experience with this. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. But bottom line is, you're all on for it, then that's the end of that, because it's got to be unanimous.
No, I understand that.
Yes, I guess just to put plainly, you feel the position would be 3710 does not apply.
Yes, because the law was created before it went into effect.
Because it was and that's
Pre-existing non-conforming.
I'll be honest, that's kind of my personal take on it, is that's what it comes down to, and we see a lot of these pre-existing non-conforming. I will say the one thing that's getting me is that they submitted something and said they would comply with it.
That was my next point. They kept reiterating that they were going to comply with 3710.
The fact that everything...
They weren't arguing that.
Now, in hindsight, we're basically saying, it's moot anyway, it doesn't matter. They also committed... I guess where I'm going big picture would be... where I landed personally was I think it would apply. I would agree with Ian, but I would also be willing to grant the variance. That's my feeling, because I do think the lot is abnormal. It is the whole thing, everything about it, how it touches the road.
But again, we're not debating the variance right now.
I know, but I guess where I'm going is...
start talking about both, but the fact of the matter is, variance is a much heavier lift for me, because it's a self-imposed hardship. If you're going to go by your explanation of it,
I don't know, I think you could make an argument. You could also say the fill is a hardship. You could go back and, I would be more inclined to grant the variance. Although you're right, if it was just this purely and there was no variance application, would that hold up in court if I said, it's pre-existing non-conforming? I'm kind of with you, Jim. Yeah, I would. I do.
If that's simple, why didn't the town councils go along those lines?
Because they looked at it from the other point. They said, well, it's not a setback requirement, it's a height requirement. I look at it differently. I'm sorry. It was all about the fact that if the house is down here, you've got to keep moving it further away from the road. That was the original intent of why it was created, to keep them away. And there was a lot of rationale to it. I understand it. But it still affected, ultimately, the setback. Because that's what the requirement was. It didn't say, hey, build a house up. It said, no, you got to move it back unless you can move it up. That's the option. You've got to move it back, or you can raise the house. It wasn't we want you to raise the thing based on whatever. We want the house to be at a certain elevation. They didn't say we want the house to be at an elevation equal to the road. They said, no, if it's sloping, move it back. Keep moving it away.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand.
And I understand how town council interpreted and said, well, no, it's not. It's a height thing. It's not a setback thing.
And I'm looking at it as a height thing as well. If you only build it this high, you got to go back there. If you want to stay right here, you build it to that high.
Yeah, but again, it's about moving it away from the road based on.
Well, if they wanted to build it where it currently sits, they could have raised it, 5 feet, and they would have had no issues.
I understand that part of this particular case, but I'm looking at this as more of a holistic way to say, what difference does it make? Because, it wasn't required when the law was created.
Eric?
That was my initial thought. When I very, very first saw this, I thought the same thing as Jim was thinking. But then when we got the town council opinion, kind of threw me for a loop a little bit, because I'm like, the elevation isn't related to the setback, so it's like, which one do you believe,
Yeah, no, I understand, and I understand how you can interpret it both ways, but the fact
from
is...
Ian's position as the building commissioner, he has to go by what's in the book on the bylaw.
No, I understand.
And it does say
he made
elevation, right?
What's that?
In the bylaw, it says elevation. It doesn't say setback, so I guess that's kind of a crux.
Well, it links them directly. That's the purpose. You calculate a new setback based on elevation.
Yes, exactly. It specifically affects that. Because, as I said, there are practical limits to how much you can raise the building.
I know that, but Ian, as the commissioner, has to go by what the book says.
I understand.
And what he sees there.
As I said, I can
I
understand
personally
you
am going to
interpret that.
deny the appeal.
Is there a limit to what 2550 exempts?
Yes.
And are we splitting that here? It exempts setback modifications, but not elevation requirements? Is that the...
Essentially.
That's kind of what but yeah, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. I read it. Amended intensity of use. I guess in fairness to Ian, I would read this the same way today. The magic question is, would I have known when I was requiring compliance that it was a pre-existing non-conforming lot? I don't know. Why they didn't bring that up 2 years at the time?
Well, they did.
Beyond me.
Well, who bring it up? It was brought to their attention umpteen times.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't. Could it have been nipped in the bud if the applicant had said, I know you're asking for this, I don't believe it applies. I don't know.
Well, again, the argument they were making is
written right here.
It was a subject to where they took the measurements from, based on the road layout.
Yeah.
So, whether that's applicable or not.
But it's also pretty clear the middle of the house from the road in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying must have come from an angle. Well, they're paying engineers and architects to do this stuff. And, you know, and he's the builder, and he's been doing it for years. So I don't think it's our problem.
No, but that's where their problems end up, is with us. I mean, we're always solving people's problems.
Well, like I said, it says right, the applicant should appeal the determination, which was first on March 22, July 22, twice, 3 times, July, and again, later time, it's like.
No, like I said, I'm not excusing what they did. I'm just looking at this, saying, okay, hey, you know what? This is going forward the way it should be. That, you know, lots created prior to this aren't subject to this bylaw. But, you know, if you read that, that specifically says what is considered non-conforming. Increase in lot area, width, depth, frontage, yard, coverage requirements, or it should apply to extension, alteration, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where the interpretation will come, that it affects the setback. But obviously it doesn't talk about elevation, and why would it?
But yeah, I guess I'm kind of almost backtracking now. If there is a separation and it's not exempt by 2550, then
The setback
I would go
is,
back to
I mean, I'm
say,
interpreting it that the setback is being altered, which is protected under non-conforming lots. But they don't say, well, if there's a change in building height, you know, that doesn't apply either. They didn't get into that, and I can understand that.
So I guess now I'm going, does 3710 apply? I would say yes. So I would agree with Ian. I know it's a separate conversation, but I also, again, would support the variance. I know that's, but from the perspective of enforcing this town's bylaw on these, you know, I would say yes. I think 3710 does apply, which I think is consistent with town council and Ian. So yeah, I would fall into that.
I think it'd be a nice thing to clean up somehow.
Yeah, it's tricky.
No question. But we're not gonna clean it up tonight.
Not gonna clean it up tonight, no.
Okay, so I've read through the findings. So are you guys ready to vote on those? So the only one we'll need to change is the board finds that section 3710 of the protective bylaw does apply.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where I'm at. Yeah, I agree. Talked in circles there a little. Sorry, guys.
No, hey.
It's just working it out.
That's what it's all about.
Okay, so somebody want to move the findings?
I'll move the findings as written.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. Okay, decision after reviewing the application, the plan, and other materials submitted, and after giving due consideration to testimony given at the public hearing, the board hereby denies the decision of the building commissioner.
No,
I'm sorry,
denies the appeal.
approves the appeal.
No,
Denies the appeal. I was right the first time.
appeal.
Can we go?
Oh, I changed it to upheld and
uphold or not.
overturned.
Yes, that's right, Kevin told us.
I just missed one spot.
Okay, so upholds the decision of the building commissioner at 110 Country Club Road, Sandwich, Mass. Assesses map 14, parcel 280 for the purpose of appealing the building commissioner's zoning determination relating to request for zoning enforcement of 110 Country Club. So, someone want to move to uphold the decision?
I'll move to uphold the decision of the building commissioner.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Okay, I'm not sure where that leaves that, but that's where it is.
Did you see what we have on the agenda for the next meeting? Two special permits?
All right, so we're gonna do the variance now?
Might as well.
Variance, okay. Okay, so procedural history. This is a variance application from sections 1321 and 3710 of the zoning bylaw. Look for property located at 110 Country Club Road, which was filed on March 30th, 2026. After proper notice was given, the public hearing was opened on April 28th, 2026 and closed on April 28th, 2026. The application was accompanied by a plan entitled Site As-Built Plan for Phil Miller, number 110 Country Club Road, Sandwich, Mass., prepared by Gary S. Labrie, PLS, dated January 22nd, 2025, revised April 20th, 2025, and revised 5/21/2025, revised 3/1/26. The board reviewed the application and all of the materials submitted prior to the close of the public hearing. The board received and gave due consideration to testimony given at the public hearing. The following members attended: Neve Ontario, Killian, and Van Buskirk. Findings. Board finds that the application meets the requirement of Section 10, Mass General Law, Chapter 48. Subject property is located within the R2 zoning district and consists of 40,000 square feet with 175 feet of frontage. The applicant constructed a single-family home that does not meet the requirements of Section 3710 of the protective zoning bylaw, which requires the building to be set back 15 feet. For every 1 feet, the principal floor elevation is below the road elevation. That sounds like a setback requirement. The site elevation measured at the edge of the pavement directly in front of the center of the building is calculated at 102 feet, a difference in elevation of 7.8 feet. The dwelling was constructed at a distance of 57.6 feet from the edge of the pavement. The applicant is requesting a 59.4-foot variance from the front yard setback. The applicant is citing hardship as it relates to unique topography of the lot, given that it slopes downward to Hog Pond. The applicant also cites a financial hardship due to the fact that the house is already constructed and a denial may result in the structure order to be removed. The board finds that a literal enforcement of the provisions of this bylaw involves a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. The hardship is owing to circumstances relating to soil conditions, shape or topography of such land, or structures but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it is located. Desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good or nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent of the or purpose of the bylaw.
I don't agree with that.
Which part?
The hardship.
You don't say.
I truly believe that he's putting, I understand the hardship he has created for him and his construction team has created. But I'm very not comfortable giving a 59-foot variance on a situation where they weren't listening or they were listening because they were notified right through the whole process that they had to follow this and that they were going to comply. They said they were going to comply. They didn't comply, or they did it to whatever specs they wanted. Not our problem.
If we take them at their word, they thought they were compliant, and they weren't. I don't know.
There's too many people involved for someone not to have said, all right, this is how the town of Sandwich works. This is what the bylaw says. This is where it has to be done. They had two different engineers looking at it. They had an architect looking at it. You don't think all those people have to be proficient? I mean,
Well, here's a
but
tough
the
question.
other one is we end up in the. don't know that it's up to us to decide whether there was or wasn't any ill intent.
No, I'm not saying there was ill intent, but.
Well, that leads to my question then. What do you think went on? What do you think transpired? This is a tough question for them to just say, yeah, you know, we're just gonna blow right through this. We know we're not in compliance.
No, I just think somebody on their side did not do their job, and that falls to them to settle.
Okay, but we have people come through this door all the time that didn't do their job, or they made a mistake and they surveyed improperly and they created encroachments. I mean, that happens all the time. The question is, did they just ignore the problem, or did they truly just make a mistake?
Well, if you read the first attorney's arguments in this direction, they were pretty much admitting that they knew all about this. But
And they thought they were complying. I mean, that's what I thought I get out of this, is that, you know, we thought, according to this engineer, we were in compliance, and we weren't, because the guy measured it wrong. Okay, did they do it on purpose, or did they honestly think, hey, yeah, we're all set, this complies? I think we said we have a plan that says they comply with 3710, right? They submitted something that indicated.
After a year and a half asking for
Well,
it?
again, so there was nothing submitted, there was no plan submitted, no foundation plan submitted.
No, but at some point, if they said that they were following the 3710, and they were gonna provide the figures to Ian or to whoever was concerned to prove that they were following 3710, somebody should have determined that that house had to be higher than it was. So.
And when you've been asking for a plan for a year and a half that you just got 2 weeks ago to make those said determinations, that's kind of odd.
But again, it goes back to the fact that the building department shouldn't have even let them build, shouldn't have even done any inspections if they didn't have that plan submitted, which is required. So it's like, how did that happen? And did they just think, well, again, to your point, what their motivation was, that they were just gonna kind of blow through this and nobody was gonna stop them? I don't know. I mean,
I don't know
can't-
either.
I mean, it sounds like they're in business, and this is what they do. They deal with building departments all the time.
Yeah, it's not like John Smith building a house for
No,
John Smith.
So I'm saying, how would they let it get to that point? How
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
So, or was it just a
Well,
mistake?
but
Just, you know,
I guess I take it as, I think they genuinely thought they were complying, which I can't imagine anyone taking a risk
I can't.
that flagrant like that to just be like, eh.
Myself, not. I'd be hard pressed to think that these guys would say, "Yeah, screw it. You know, we don't comply, but we'll push it through. No one's going to stop us." I mean, they do this all the time, right? I mean, it would be unlikely. They thought.
Okay, but to your point, if they do it all the time, they would have known that in order to build the house where it is, it's got to be this high on the first floor.
But Chris, they're arguing that they thought they were compliant. That there was this engineer said, "Oh yeah, we measured it, and you're all set." And you know, that's where the ambiguity comes in of who was right and who was wrong. And that's why I'm saying you either accept that somebody made a mistake outside of their purview or outside of their responsibility, and they said, "Oh yeah, this complies. Okay, here's the drawing, whatever," and they just went through it. If to not believe that is to assume that they knew all along they were out of compliance, and
I can't assume that.
Well, that's what you're saying is, hey, it was them, they did it on purpose, and
Well, I didn't say they did it on purpose. Someone just didn't do their job.
Okay, but that's like I said,
And that's E&O insurance. It's not a zoning variance.
I know, but that's what we do here all the time when people didn't do their
How
job.
often do we issue a 59-foot variance?
No, I know, it's
on
extreme.
someone's own mistakes.
It's extreme, but what is it? Does it matter? The mistake was made, whether it's this big or that big. It doesn't. I mean, in this case, it doesn't matter. It's the motivation of the mistake is what you're arguing. Is that hey, they screwed up, and that's too bad. It's too big of a mistake. We're not going to let it slide. Versus the guy who's 2 feet into the setback because he measured wrong, whatever that is.
I know.
So
I mean,
I understand where you're coming from.
I also think, like, if you could go back in time and revisit this as a true variance application, it is a weird lot. It is funky. It's got funky topography. Like, I don't know that we can also sit here and say that we wouldn't have legitimately issued the variance had he applied for it legitimately at the first time. Like,
Don't disagree with that.
The real decider for me personally is like, can it be granted without detriment to the rest of the public good or the intent of the neighborhood? I've driven by it a bunch. I've revisited it. Like,
yeah, it's a nice house.
It doesn't. I would support a variance. That's where I'm at for what's cited there. even if they had come in the first place and said, hey, listen, this is the best we could do, had it gone through, we'll say, correctly, I probably still would have supported it. So that's my take.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that there would have been a lot of evidence to support a variance, but I also see, where you're coming.
It feels rough. It feels.
I think maybe you're thinking, maybe not, that they just felt all along they were going to kind of find a getaway around it. Maybe they did, but I just can't imagine a company operating that way. It just seems rather reckless, and they wouldn't survive very long if they operated that way.
I just think the project must have been reckless because there's so many people involved that should have known what the elevation should be to build the house in that location.
Again, Chris, according to the testimony, they did. This is the calculation, and they said they were complying. Why did they put it where they did? They put it where they did because they thought that it was complying. They didn't put it closer to the road. It was a 30-foot setback or 45-foot setback.
But how did they know they were putting it in the right place when they didn't even provide the figures to Ian until 2 weeks ago?
Because it's cited where it's cited, and there is a calculation associated with where it's cited. And so they, again, that's the argument they're making. You can either think they're lying, or you think they're telling the truth.
I don't even want to go down that road.
No, I'm just saying, so that's what you have to decide, is that their argument is hey, we thought we were complying. We thought this was the right measurement. We were wrong. So that's how they ended up where they ended up. And it's a question of if you think they were acting maliciously or they just screwed up. So that's where it comes down to. And I understand it's their mistake, but this stuff happens.
Well, I know, but back to just my point again, if they were going to comply with 3710, back from day one when they were drawing up these plans, they must have understood that the elevation had to be to a certain point for them to place that house in that location.
They did, and that's what the argument that they're making is based on where they took that measurement from, and that's what became a dispute. And again, I don't know how this whole thing transpired because, as I said, they at some point before they put a stick on that foundation,
Probably should have stopped.
somebody should have handed them an as-built plan, and someone should have looked at it and taken out, oh, yeah, it complies, go ahead, here's your permit. But that, whatever reason, never happened, and I don't know why, and hopefully, that doesn't happen in the future. So the fact that they didn't have one in the building department, either they lost it, or they never handed it in, but I built a few houses in Sage, and it was always like, hey, where's the foundation plan? Here it is, okay, here's your card, and off you go. So that's why I thought the other application was easier.
We think, Eric. More chat, discussion, feelings, thoughts?
Well, it's a tough one all around. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, it's a huge variance. Normally, we would never grant something like that. I mean, it's a particular situation.
So would the suggestion has made that a variance, another variance should be made in terms of the height, because it's less of a variance, if that would be more palatable.
I was thinking about that.
Okay.
Essentially, relief from the 15-to-1 ratio and allowing for a variance to, I don't know what the math, X to 1, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
So is that another variance?
Yeah, they would have to apply for a different variance, correct?
Well, I think they'd rather apply for a different variance than get this variance turned down.
Can we reword what's?
No, we can only grant what they applied for.
Oh, good point. Sorry. Sorry.
So the question is, there's no limit to the variances they can apply for, right?
You would need to deny without prejudice,
okay.
so they can reapply.
Or leave it open, like, when do we have to, how much time do we have to rule on this?
Oh, what was it, 180 days?
Okay,
We
so
closed the public hearing, so.
We can just not make a decision.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
It does feel like, I don't know, we've granted, I'm with you, Jim, in the spirit of like, hey, I screwed up.
No, 20 days.
Oh, no,
In so many words, he was saying, like, if I could go back and do it again, sure. Would I have done it differently? Sure. But I also agree in the spirit of this board, like, people with garages off or the fence, like, we've never made anyone rip anything down.
100 days to make a decision.
Okay.
Right, we've also.
However, we can ask for
You know, it's
an
like,
extension.
oh, that has a
for
foot here, a
attorney,
foot
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
60 feet's a little rough.
But I guess again, I look for that lot, it is just so wonky. I don't know.
So is that the?
If they had come in and said, this is the only place I can put
They
it.
come for a opposite variance of what they're asking for, and it's smaller in size and scale and more palatable, or?
Is it? It's still a ratio. You're still cutting 15 and a half by
Well, I mean,
50%.
rather than, all these feet, you're down to a few feet, maybe it's more palatable.
Sure, I'd grant it either way. So
Okay.
sure.
I could go either way right now. I don't, I mean, Councilman, tearing a house down and all that seems a little strange.
No, yeah.
There's no other way they couldn't just lift it up.
Jack it up a little bit.
You got a couple of cranes going on, or?
Well, it'll claim hardship, right? That's not.
Again, I get a hard time.
It's a
with
big
hardship
deal.
As it is, because of, how this whole came about, but, it's still mistakes, so.
I don't know. Like I
All
said,
right, why don't we just
I
put it
would
to bed?
I would grant it.
Why don't we just put it to bed?
Okay,
So is that a motion to
I'm
meeting move the findings?
that was it.
Okay, I'll motion to approve the findings.
I will second them.
All in favor? Aye.
Conditions. At the public hearing, the board considered potential conditions of approval for the variance. The Board of Appeals voted that the following conditions of approval shall be imposed upon any approval of a variance, and that these conditions are reasonable, and that the applicant and his successor in interest are bound by these conditions. We usually put conditions on variances, right?
Usually.
Okay.
Can you even put conditions on it?
No.
Because I didn't think that was even a thing.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just kind of scratch that.
Delete the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, so I
Well,
will,
we do need that though, because they only have 1 year for approval. We do need the standard, we always have the standard conditions, we just don't ever add any additional conditions.
all right, so
'Cause we need to
failure to
submit it.
comply with all the conditions set forth shall terminate the grant, and the only condition is that it's recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds and is provided to the Board of Appeals.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no time limit other than that. Okay, so I will move said conditions.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so I will move to approve the variance application.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's getting late. Anybody want to move the other deliberations till the next meeting?
What do we have, just Quiet Ave?
And 49 Freeman.
Oh, okay. Either that, or if you guys want to do like just a virtual meeting, like 5 o'clock next Tuesday or something?
I'm open to that. I'll have to double check my. In theory, yes. I don't know.
You're on those. And Kevin too, right? 49. And
Yeah.
See, we have enough people because I don't actually.
Do we anticipate
Yeah,
more
we could
items
just have
being
a
added to
computer,
the
how's
next
that?
meeting at this point? It's
Why don't
closed,
we
the
just-
agenda's closed.
Why don't we just wait till the next meeting?
I'm okay with that.
None of those people are in a rush.
What's that?
So why don't we just wait till the next meeting?
Because we are a full-service board.
You didn't bring pizza.
But you don't need it at the virtual meeting. You be at home.
No, I say we just wait till the next meeting.
Okay,
I will second.
All in favor?
what are we doing? Did I hear a motion for adjournment?
Yeah.
Motion to
Motion to
continue
adjourn.
deliberations to the next meeting.
No, we don't need to do that.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right.